see nothing.
I'm hammering this shit home at every shift change, by the way.
I'm gonna be honest with you that so as you were going through that, I was going through the SOP document. I think two things highlighted. I agree with the previous conversation that we have is some of this stuff is written and just not understood, but I do think that the elaboration is still required. I think ultimately both things are right. Number one, quite frankly, I don't think some of these guys have processing nailed down, yet they're officers. The second is some of the points that we, some of our expectations aren't actually in these slides.
Some of those things aren't because me and Black added them yesterday.
Oh,
expanded thing.
I got you.
Things were in the slide that I said were in the slide. So I was reading off the slide.
Once that processing doc is done, I think we need to get it published, get it understood with the corporals, and then once they got it down and like literally have that shit like borderline memorized, we need to get retraining going. I can't help but stand in this meeting that we just had, and I think that 80% of the class actually has no idea, and that scares the fuck out of me.
What scares the fuck out of you, Sorry?
That's basic shit isn't understood, right?
Yeah, I do, and I think the reason that it's not understood is there's two reasons for that. Number one, there was a rogue regime that was running the police force for the months prior to this happening. So former officers got into really bad habits that were normally good officers when they initially got brought up. Number two problem that we have is that some of the new officers that we trained, the cadets went through processing training, right? The problem, however, is that we had all the old officers that we allowed back in that had formed these habits.
Oh,
they
I
were
see.
Then training them through the FTO program.
Yeah.
The next problem then we have is any people we took in on sink or swim, processing is not dealt with in a sink or swim at all. It's expected for them to learn that after the fact or have learned it before. And the first couple of classes, we didn't even do the tour of like how to put your things away, which was a misstep, to be honest. So those are the three, in my opinion, those are the three things that really caused this problem.
Yep.
And honestly, until you pointed out, I didn't even recognize it, to be fair.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't able to get out on daily patrol until recently.
Okay. Well, the good thing is we got like a bit of a plan of action. I've been sending out a chart, right? If we get our officers down to understand their basic fundamentals, there's plenty of room for them to, you know, enjoy themselves and do all the things that I think they want to do. But without that basic thing there, it's gonna be a handful of people pulling their hair out. You know. Cider, any thoughts on this?
Oh man, I mean, yeah, sure, I agree with everything.
All right.
Listen, I'll be honest with you, man. I feel like a lot of this shit is just common sense. But I also understand that a lot of people, I guess a lot of people just had literally zero clue what they were doing when they were hired on.
Yeah.
And like, here's my thing. Is some of the people that could answer those questions, majority of them went through the FTO process, had the whole sheets checked off, and then was passed through and into full officer. I only pushed a couple of cadets through. Now, you know, I'm gonna be honest. I would rather have, and I know this is an unpopular opinion amongst us three. Probably you guys are gonna disagree with this. I would much rather have 6 or 7 officers on duty that know what they're doing in the field, but struggle with paperwork and the processing side. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I think numbers are. I never give a fuck about numbers. Give me 8 good cops, and I'm happy.
Listen, I was adapting to pressure over the numbers. That was the problem. I was getting a lot of pressure over that. I originally was on both your guys' side with that, but there was like a pressure put on me for hiring. But actually, you weren't the people who put pressure on me for that busting.
What is it?
On hiring people. we had to hire people.
Yeah, we had to.
And I think maybe that's what happened as well. Look,
I think how we got here. Let's however we got here. We got here. Now we got a good way to, I think, resolve it. And I think our plan of action of getting that processing dock very thorough. I think getting some of our toolings, like I'm gonna just off the top of my head, for example, the searching backpack sucks ball sack. Having perhaps a way to document without using ShareX. We get those little things resolved. We train it through the corporals and then have them train out with a secondary retraining for each and every officer. And we'll get to where we need to be in the next 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think it'll be fine. If we can up the quality of our hiring, it probably reduces the workload in the hiring. So
once we have enough people that are locked in, it'll breed out. Right now we just have, there's the critical, we just don't have critical mass in our force that can help maintain the standard. And once we get over that critical mass, it's going to be easy clap.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Bustin', you're here, dude. Looks fabulous.
Appreciate that. A lot of gang violence cases. You know what I mean? Had to make sure they knew I wasn't fucking around.
Yep.
Okay.
Right. We should talk to the governor about hits in Los Santos. What's up? But I'm gonna save that for a meeting with the governor tonight. That chase earlier, Cider, that was fucking doing my head in. That we just got done with.
I'm gonna be honest with you. That is the chase that does my head in every time. And those chases happen every time there's something actually on the line. That's the reality.
Yeah.
When the gang violence, when it was the first PDM, right, or a newer PDM, when it was the first.
Let's give context to the commish since he's walking into it.
Oh yeah, it was the same thing we've always talked about, commish. The endless swaps, vehicles. We're trying to attempt to spike the vehicle. We had 5 officers attached to once where we had to send one off. There were so many people trying to spike, and we were landing quality pits, the whole ordeal. We would finally get a car spiked, swap. We would finally get a car pitted, swap. We would go for a box, they bubble pit us out of it, just a standard. And it lasted for about an hour and 15 minutes from a mass shooting, mass cash. So just the normal stuff. It's very hard whenever they want to get away and we want to catch them. It is very hard for us to finish. We can stay with the chase for 30-40 minutes. We have good comms, good parallels, good spikes, good whatever. But it's that last 5% of the chase that we struggle with as a PD. I do not know how to fix it.
So a couple things that I witnessed. I came in a little bit late. There are some things that we can fix on our end, which is the comms, and some officers just straight up are not spiking. I was watching it during the chase. I mean, reality is, you're on it, right? Let's say you're primary. What I was watching since the moment I got in, is some of those officers were not going for any spikes. But here, the physics of these vehicles make those pits virtually impossible. Agree or disagree?
I agree.
And what I mean by that is at 60 miles an hour, you're pushing a brick.
On top of that, getting up to 60 miles an hour takes you half a second.
Yeah. So
with 95% of cars.
So I'm not necessarily advocating we up the pit speed, but I think this is a conversation we have to have with the governor, because at that point, my fear is as follows. Do you know when we started, you and I went in for that V-shaped box?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it got a little bumpery.
Bumper car bullshit.
Yes.
I hate
my
it.
fear
and it's
is
what we had to do.
You and I are going in with, I think we're on the same page when we're going there. We're like, let's box it right here on the street.
Yep.
But then a little bump happens, and we are sending an unintentional message to other officers to start smashing into the car, which is not the intent.
Or, the fact that it's 4 minutes till tsunami, we're trying to end the chase, and then we have an officer doing that 20 minutes into tsunami,
Yeah.
It's just a completely different vibe. But no, I agree with you.
All right. Well, let's talk to the governor tonight.
So the pits, could you explain that one to me again? What is the pits need to go up in speed or what?
I think we should talk to the governor about this, Commish. I think this is a difficult conversation without things getting a little odd.
Something is? I guess I'll try to figure it out later.
Yeah. Well, let's have a nice little meeting with the governor. I'll make it a little bit more on the nose.
Yep, that sounds good to me. Okay.
All right.
Outside of that, the gang violence I have seen is way up, and we've been.
How stern do you want me to be on this? And Chief, I need you, since you're not going to be around for a couple of days. Like, whenever I'm going on these gang violence calls, I'm seeing the same shit as usual, right? People still shooting at each other while officers are present. I mean, even just the one that we responded to, we're telling people to stop shooting, and then we have people 3 inches from cops chasing down other cars, opening fire, driving through roadblocks.
No, you shoot them. You warn them at that point, and they're going to be driving through you. Like at that point, you do shoot them. Like, beautiful. That standard's never been different than that, to be fair.
I know it's not, but again, as the captain, I set that precedent. Other people are going to do it, so I'm a little bit more hesitant until I get confirmation 100%. So
I'd say follow what's in the SOP slide. It's all in there, and no one's going to get ripped for following it. You know what I mean? And if the governor comes through and is like, starts bitching at us, well, that was her call. You know what I mean?
That was her call.
Yeah, I mean, again, at the end of the day, I want to be as I'll do pretty much anything. I do not like to shoot first. I understand there are situations where I'm gonna have to, and sadly, we're getting to the point where these criminals are just walking all over us. So they're gonna have to start getting shot for anything to change. That's why I wanted to have this conversation.
Yeah, we did this last night. Just so you know, there was a shootout on Forum Drive. I had the officer stage, and then I had them start rolling in, and I saw there's people just lingering in like 3 cars. And then a guy started shooting from one of the cars. Well, the cops are there, and I just told cops, I said, fucking unload. And they did.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna read this out loud when you're done.
Yeah, and then the cars went off, and then we put Air 1 pursuit and everything on because of the brazenness of it. So like that's what I'll tell you. I have no problem with that. I mean, if people are going to be brazen in front of the police, then that's a different story. But go ahead, Nat.
8 officers can respond to gang-related shooting. Wait up to 5 minutes for the shooting to stop before warning. If shooting stops before 5 minutes, police can roll in. After 5 minutes, you may attempt to make contact with the shooters. If they will not cease, order them to stop or they will be shot. If order isn't followed after proper notice, after proper warnings, you may shoot if there is good faith belief the shooting will continue. If anyone attempts to loot down individuals, warn them and then tackle and tase them. Do not allow them to vulture down suspects. So, obviously, some people may go kick off, start shitting themselves, whatever. This is per the governor's orders. So
I'm going to tell you guys right now, 5 minutes might as well be 35 minutes. That is way too fucking long. There is no gunfight that is going on for longer than, or is going on for 5 minutes before we are going to be able to make any calls there.
That's something to discuss with the governor.
I know, I will. I'm just letting you guys know. It's just too long. Maybe 2 minutes, maybe after stage, something like that.
Practically, based on my experience, there generally is a pause in those first couple of minutes regardless. It may not be totally done, but by our standards, it looks done.
No, I agree with you. And I understand what you're saying about the pause. But what's going to happen, and this is just me speaking out loud, I'm, just giving you my input. If that says 5 minutes, and something happens where there's a pause after 2.5 minutes and we roll in, it's going to be like, well, why didn't you roll in 5 minutes? They still had 2.5 more minutes until they were, got open fired upon or whatever.
Yeah, I hear
I'd just rather that, because if anything says something like that,
I'm so confused.
Gonna be my ass is going to get fucking chewed out for it when I make that call.
But can you explain the 5 minutes is too long? What's the concern?
I can't. I can't say it. At the meeting with the governor, I think.
I
would
got you.
be
Okay.
Proper place to say that.
Yep.
That's fine,
Saltiness.
yeah. If we're gonna go talk to the governor tonight, the one thing I do want to say is that shit rolls downhill, Bustin, and this will be your first meeting with her. And me and not, we're gonna slip on out of there, but it's yours tonight, Bustin.
Oh, she gonna eat that ass.
Hey, she better come with a little bit of respect. I'll fucking fight her 1-on-1. 225 regulation.
She's a very domineering woman, Bustin.
Yeah.
I don't think you understand.
225. All right. Well, I'm tired of sitting here talking.
Yeah.
Y'all good?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey,
Appreciate
Bussin,
it,
you asked what are you gonna do while I'm gone?
Yep.
Honestly, my only concern